There's a lot of women that are friends with their exes. As a man, you got to put a stop to that. You got to be like, we're not going to do this. What's up, Bulldogs? All right, I have an email from one of my coaching clients about some relationship issues that he has encountered, and I thought, hell, I'll just do a video on this, and we'll kill two birds with one stone. And I think this will be useful for a lot of you guys if you have a girlfriend and you're having issues with exes or her talking about her exes. So I'll just kind of read you a bit of this and paraphrase a little bit here. So he's saying that this woman's ex-husband is coming to the house because of custody of the kids. So she's talking about him a lot in regards to parenting. And then he says that, and she talks about her ex-boyfriends, two of them, a lot, especially the one who is worth $50 million and how she ended up being his caretaker, etc., etc. She says things like, you're the only one who met my kids and actually likes them. And even though he had a ton of money and took me on all those trips, he didn't really do it for me again and again in the conversation. Okay. So he says, I want to be a good boyfriend by letting her vent about her ex-husband since he isn't paying child support and can't even house himself, but it's getting old. Okay, so here's what I would say. So first of all, a conversation just needs to be had about that. I really don't want to talk about exes. And the way that I would phrase this is instead of I don't want you to talk about exes, which, again, I'm not saying you can't say that as a man, but it's more effective to lead and say, this is what we're going to do, as opposed to this is what you're going to do. And so one way of doing this is to say, I would like us to not talk about our exes. It's just kind of disrespectful to each other, and it takes away from our relationship. And that's just a good way to start this without throwing out accusations and saying things of that nature. Shouldn't cause much of a fight. There's a lot of women that are friends with their exes. No go, no bueno. As a man, you got to put a stop to that. You got to be like, we're not going to do this. It's disrespectful to the relationship. Again, when you say it's disrespectful to the relationship, that's a better way than saying it's disrespectful to me. You want to use the we language initially because it's a softer approach. Like it's more guiding the relationship. She's going to feel a little bit safe and secure, and then she knows you're doing the same thing, right? So that's where to start. Now, as far as what's going on here with talking about the high net worth boyfriend and stuff like that, and actually giving a compliment and saying, hey, you're the only one who met my kids and actually likes them, even though he had a ton of money and took me on these trips, he didn't really do it for me. Again, okay, so this is a bit of a justification type of thing, and it's mostly positive, but again, there's this dwelling on this. It almost sounds like a consideration. It's like, oh, well, I wish he would have been more like you because those things were good, and he had all this money and he did all these things and took me on trips and stuff, right? And it's like, she might not be intending it to come across as disrespectful, but it is because it's a comparison. And so I don't think you'll have to address this if you have this conversation about let's not talk about the exes, but if it still kind of persists and this thing is kind of going on or there's hints at this thing, then it might be time to really deeply address this and say, hey, when you say stuff like this, when you're talking about how successful your ex was, it makes me feel like a comparison. And even though you're saying, oh, you're better and that the money and stuff that doesn't matter, why are you talking about it? Because when you're talking about it, it makes it seem like, right? And again, you can, if you want to be blunt, if you need to go there, if it's not being registered, you can say, well, let's imagine, right? Because money is kind of an attractive trait for a man to have, right? So what's an attractive trait for a female to have? How about some big boobs, right? So imagine if you were having a conversation, you're like, yeah, oh gosh, you're so wonderful. My ex, gosh, she was so horrible. She was such a witch. I mean, she had massive boobs and that was awesome. She looked so good in a dress because her boobs were just huge, but it just didn't do it for me because she was so mean and just not a caring person. And you just got so much else going on, and it just, even though she had these massive boobs that were just woo right there, it's just yeah, I think that will get the point across, but I don't think you need to go there, right? These are just kind of the stopgaps if you need to, and you could do that in a more gentle way. I mean, that one's going to be a little bit, you're probably going to get into an argument there, or she'll get the point real quickly. But yeah, that's it's always an issue with the exes. Exes need to be out of life completely, and you as a man have to lead that and say, okay, this is how we're going to handle these things. All right, guys, if you haven't already joined the Bulldog Mindset membership, click the link down below. There's a ton of content in there on all this stuff, and I'm constantly making new content on deep lessons in relationships, dating, women, psychology of women. You need this stuff as a man. Trust me on this. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.